窒息させる気がない。この野郎、しがみついたまま気絶してやがる。
あれ、そういやゾロ、なんでお前まで波に追われてたんだ？下の町にいたのか？
いや別に。
煙突に刺さってた。
What's up, everybody? We're back for some revenge. If you catched the previous video, we fought against Reiju in the finals, and now we're going to be fighting against actually the same Reiju player. He's a really great guy, really awesome at Reiju as well, and he is pimping his deck out as he is. PRB is coming out. But anyways, this is some Zoro versus Reiju. We ended up going, I believe, first in this specific game here, and we did mulligan. We mulliganed into a pretty solid hand here with the Nami on turn 1. Turn 3, we're going to have the new Tony Chopper. If you don't know, this is the animal version of Zoro, running a few Straw Hat cards as well, notably that 5-drop Rush Luffy, as well as the Diable Jambe being really awesome and crucial cards for some of the matchups that have a lot of blockers. But general rules of this specific deck is go fast, me go fast, and my goal is to go faster than Reiju here, as Reiju's just going to attach Shudan and pass. I'm going to go back to my turn here. Actually going first against Reiju is pretty great. Reiju actually nowadays actually prefers the first curve, just so they can play on their 3-don turn the Porsche into EGG, which is a very, very strong combo, allowing them to swing a 5k and a 7k attack, as well as having 2 bodies on board, which is pretty insane. We're going to play out Tony Chopper. Chopper's going to let us grab a 4,000 power or less, I believe it's animal card, and put it into play. We're going to grab this blocker Chopper. Pretty awesome card to put into play here. There might have been some consideration of putting the other Chopper. It was another 4,000 power Chopper from OP01, the first set. I believe it lets me get back Straw Hat cards from my yard, so I do have a 2k Sanji in hand, as well as a Nami as potential targets to get back if I use the 2k to counter out of something. But alas, I think right now just getting Chopper on the board. Chopper's really good at dealing with attackers because he can minus 2,000 or 3,000, I believe, on a character when he attacks if he's got a Dawn attached to him. Opponent's just going to swing 6k into Chopper. I'm just going to let it go. I don't feel like fighting over that. That is going to require at least 2 cards from my hand. Opponent's going to play out a Porsche here. Going to whiff on the search, and then going to play out likely an Ichiji here. Yep, there's the Ichiji styling with the PRB. Yeah, no, this is post PRB, so he's already got some of the awesome stuff coming out here. And then pass to me does not have the 7-drop Ichiji. I'm very happy to see that, which means the aggression is kind of a little lesser here going into my turn here. On my turn 5, I have a few decisions. Usually when you're playing Zoro, your decisions are attach Dawn to Zoro and swing face. Very easy decision matrix when playing this deck, and honestly a nice reprieve from playing so much like Smoker and Dofi to an extent. But we've got basically every turn you're going to see us kind of play with 1 less Dawn than we have. So we're going to attach 1 to lead, and then really have 4 Dawn for the turn to work with. We're just going to push as much to face as possible. We might swing some 7Ks here just because Reiju really struggles with 7Ks. They typically will have 2Ks galore just because they're going to be drawing so many cards. But we're going to go ahead and start off with a 7K lead here. Looking at the top 5 off of Chopper's ability, likely see a few more Choppers in there. I think just reading, make sure what Chopper can grab. No, he cannot grab himself that 5,000 power Chopper, but he can grab the 4,000. We're just going to grab that, throw that back out into play here, force my opponent to potentially deal with it again, or I'm just going to swing with it on my next turn. Opponent just takes the 7k hit, and then now I think we can just go 7k again. And now I do have 2 Dawn left. That 2 Dawn, one of 2 things could happen. I could attach 2 to Nami to swing 5k, or I could play out the Makino. And the fact that I'm likely separating that Dawn means that I might play out the Makino here. So we're going to attach 1 Dawn. We're going to play out Makino. Another cool little... I'm trying to play around the glare here. There's a bit of a glare on the right side of the map. Play out Makino. Makino has an activated main ability of letting me give a nice little 1-cost character plus 3k. So that is a 6k, 7k actually, swing at lead as well, and the opponent's going to take that. So those three 7k swings in the turn there, which is pretty fast against Reiju. Reiju's already down to 2 life, which means that Kitten Killer in my hand is the perfect target to play down on my next turn. Opponent's going to keep styling on me by playing out the nice alt art stage. Some of the Reiju alt art cards from the best set have really shot up in price. It's kind of unfortunate for players who are looking to definitely style out their deck, but that stage is pretty awesome looking as well. But it's crazy to think that it's like a $40 card. But anyways, opponent still doesn't have any Ichiji in the yard. Could have one in hand, but opponent's going to go ahead and likely what they could do here is they could do like a fun little switch up where they swing with Ichiji into one of my characters and then activate its effect to put the other Ichiji into play. Opponent's going to go and swing 5k into the Makino. Makino has done its thing. She's come down, she's tapped, she's allowed me to push for damage. I am not going to be protecting her, but just because my counter is so light in hand. Right now my biggest target to protect is the Tony Chopper. I will protect it with my life, or at least 2Ks. Because that card is just so good. Opponent's just going to cycle out a stage, cycle out the bad stage, or the good stage for a bad one, and drop another 4-drop Ichiji in the yard. That kind of gives me the idea that my opponent's missing the Ichijis, but there it is. There's the man himself. So opponent's likely going to be able to do that fun little play here to be able to swing maybe 6k and then Ichiji swing into again. Yep, so he's going to go ahead and swing 5. 5 is going to go into the Nami here. Nami's gone because I see the writing on the wall. I see that likely he's going to try to contest Chopper here, so I'm going to try to protect Chopper to the best of my ability. Opponent's going to -1 Dawn, use Ichiji's effect to put Ichiji into play. He's going to -2000 on the Chopper, taking Chopper down to a 3000, and I just don't have the counter power to protect Chopper at this point, so unfortunately I'm just going to have to let Chopper go. Opponent's likely just going to go for a wipe on my board here. We'll see what they end up doing. He's going to go ahead 7k into my 3k Chopper. I unfortunately do not have enough to counter out of that, so we're going to lose that Chopper here. And then opponent is likely going to swing a nice little 7k into my 4k, which I could get out of. I think I decide to, yeah, let's go ahead and pull the trigger, because we kind of just want to go for, try to get my opponent down as low as possible. So I can finish him off for like a Diable Jambe or this Rush Luffy play here. We're gonna go and grab another Makino here, just another 2k to hand. Don't have any 1-drops to attach to use this ability on now. But going up to the 7 Dawn turn, this turn I could definitely send in some damage. We could attach 2 to my lead, 1 to Chopper. I could go 6, 7, and then play Kitten Killer to go another 7. Really putting on the aggression here. Again, we're playing Zoro, so we're always going down 1. My opponent asked if he could swap out the ugly stage for the nice looking one, and I said, go for it, man. I don't care. Do it for the audience. So I'm going to start with a 7k, or sorry, a 6k, and then I'm going to use Chopper's ability to give -3000 to the Ichiji, and that is a 7k. I think that 7k or 6k is actually going. It could go into the Ichiji here. No, it's going into life. I decided that I just was going to ignore the Ichiji. Sometimes in Reiju matchups, you have to just decide whether or not it's worth it to just ignore the powered up versions, just because they could just potentially put them back into play, since they can pull them out of the trash. So that is something to consider, and it's not really worth my resources to send all that in. And my opponent, I swing 8k with Kitten Killer, and my opponent just counters with his entire hand. So my opponent has 1 life, 1 card in hand. He does have the stage, so if he does find a Reiju, he will be able to get back into the game potentially here, which Reiju is pretty good at drawing a lot of cards. Opponent's going to trash a 2k, look at the top 3, finds the baby Reiju. Now, is the big Reiju in the yard? It probably is at this point. I didn't actually check it here. And now my opponent's kind of in this situation where they have to just keep playing for my board. But I'm in this situation where I've got a Rush Threat in hand, I've got a Diable Jambe in case my opponent plays out like a blocker or something, and it looks like my opponent does have the Reiju. Reiju's going to grab out the big Reiju. Big Reiju's going to let my opponent fill up their hand. He's going to go back up to 3 cards here, 2 off Reiju, 1 off the leader ability. It's just so strong, and it feels just so good. Reiju just draws so many cards if you see your Reiju character, and man, it is quite the feeling. So now he's in a situation where he's got 4 Dawn open. He could probably, he's likely going to be able to clear my board. I'm just going to let it go here. He's going to go 9k into Kitten Killer, which is perfectly enough to kill it. That's 3 cards out of my hand, which would have been my whole hand in that instance. And then he'd have additional attackers that could swing into it, so it's definitely not worth protecting. 6k, basically reading that maybe I don't have a 2k in hand, or just have a 2k in hand. And then I think we're just going to see some attacks at lead here. We're going to see a slap at lead here, giving me a Dr. Gray on hand, and then pass to me. Opponent is at 3 cards in hand, 1 life, and I am at the good old 9 Dawn here. I could, likely what I'll do here is probably go for a Luffy, just swing pretty heavy with 2 forces, and maybe leave 1 Dawn up for the just shut up and come with me, or come with us. That card is super good at getting in a late game attacker, puts it in unrested, so active, so they can't potentially tack into it. Yep, so we're just going to start with an 8k lead. Opponent's just going to take it. So we're going to tap 5. We're going to play out Luffy here, and we're going to attach 1 Dawn to it. He doesn't have a blocker, so it doesn't matter. And we're going to go another 8k into lead here with Zoro's buff. And opponent's got 4 cards in hand. Opponent's probably going to give me quite a few counter. Yeah, he's going to show me 3 cards there to get out of it. I don't know what that last card in hand is, but likely it wasn't a counter, since he did give up a Reiju in case he finds another little or big Reiju. But passing back to my opponent, I'm feeling very safe. My opponent right now has 4 attackers. I have at least 3k in hand. I did not leave the 1 up for shut up and come with me. Thus, trying to pressure my opponent, just going 8Ks is pretty strong, because it requires my opponent to use most of his hand, if not all of his hand, to get out of those attacks. Opponent's going to go ahead and tap 4. Going to play out another Ichiji. He does have the Ichiji in the yard that he just grabbed off the stage, or that he discarded to the stage, so it was an Ichiji in hand, so something without counter. Opponent's going to give minus 3,000 to my Luffy, take my Luffy down to a minus 2,000, taking it down to a 4k, and I'm not going to protect the Luffy at this point. My opponent basically has to show me a blocker, or try to go for game. So opponent's just going to go 5k into lead. I'm going to 1k out of it, which pretty much seals the deal for my opponent not being able to go for game at this point, just because he does not have the resources, and I still have too much life. So I think opponents might just whittle me down a little bit here and just hope I can't go for game. He's going to give me attack in. I'm going to grab a Radical Beam off the top. If in the situation my opponent was trying to go for game, I probably would have triggered that Radical Beam, just to prevent my opponent from going any further. Opponent's going to swing in and take out the good old Luffy. I'm just going to take another 7k hit. That's another rusher, and then we're going to just take another 7k hit, taking me down to 1 life, passing to my opponent. Now, if you'll remember, my opponent did not play a blocker, so that's a free game for me. That pretty much sums up the game. Kind of expected my opponent to drop a Tony Chopper, but again, I had the Diable Jambe to prevent my leader from being blocked. We're going to send 15k in the lead, and that is game against Reiju. I was just a little too fast for Reiju. They did manage to fill up their board towards the end there, but at that point, they were low on resources, low on life, and I was able to finish it up. And with that in mind, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you in the next video.